While I don't like gacha games, one thing that I will praise Persona 5 The Phantom X for is bringing in a lot of figures, both mythological and historical, that we haven't seen in any game before. Even if the roster is biased towards Greco-Roman lesser deities, rather than the more appropriate chaotic figures that are more reserved for the default cast, and with their inclusion in this rather ambitious spin-off, the question becomes if any of them will reappear in future games as well. While we can't say for certain quite yet, here are my personal top 6 picks of Phantom X personas to become demons in future games. Aura. No, not the aura around our bodies that tips into a shark fin which influenced the Demi-Fiend's horn. This Aura is a lesser goddess of Greek mythology and formerly a hunting companion of Artemis, who decided to body shame the virgin goddess as she found her well-endowed chest to be at odds with her vow of chastity. Not taking this offense lightly, Artemis sent Nemesis to get revenge for Aura's insensitivity, resulting in her experiencing many horrendous events, causing her to eventually drown herself in despair. I've made no secret that I really love SMT5's Artemis design, and thus I'd really like to see this magical girl goddess get some special conversations with some of her hunting companions from mythology, with Aura especially opening up the possibility to comment on the dynamic between light and darkness. Artemis representing light and Aura representing darkness, akin to how it was handled in SMT4, where blunt honesty was the dark tendency, and empathy towards other people's feelings was the light tendency. While astrology was never a topic that I particularly loved as a child, at least not when compared to animals, as I at one point wanted to be a zoologist, and less interesting when compared to other topics like rocks and weather that I just gravitated towards more, it's one that I found myself more and more fascinated by in recent years, experiencing channels whose passion for what exists beyond our decaying ozone layer is as palpable as it is infectious. And thus, I'd like to highlight a goddess of such a secular endeavor in Urania. One of the many daughters of Zeus and the ninth of the 9 muses born to the king of Olympus and the titan of memory, Mnemosyne, a name whom anime fans might remember for the cult classic OVA about immortal private investigators, as the goddess of astrology and astronomy, and the fact that the major planets as well as dwarf planets Ceres and Pluto are derived from the Roman interpretations of Greek deities, it'd be a fun addition if a game ever goes the extra step in interpreting the role that ancient deities play in the naming of planets, asteroids, and distant stars. And now deviating to one of the few non-Greek deity personas of the Phantom X, we come to the persona of the mascot Rob Roy, a Scottish folk hero in the same way we might think of Robin Hood and Luigi Mangione, who, like the latter, was victimized by the legal system after he co-signed a loan only to default after the other guy disappeared, beginning his life as an outlaw in conflict with the nobleman whom he was indebted to. While he may not be as well known in North America when compared to some of the other classic folk heroes of Europe, Rob Roy is nevertheless a beloved figure on the other side of the Atlantic, immortalized by various statues, being the namesake of a cocktail, and being the basis for multiple pieces of fiction from books to even a Walt Disney film. As such, I'd say he'd be a pretty interesting and perhaps even unconventional demon of chaos, whose status as an outlaw who brought attention to the corruption present in the aristocracy and predatory lending practices could even have a real impact by commenting on and paralleling this to our modern Gilded Age. A Chinese goddess closely associated with reincarnation feels like an absolute perfect fit for a series that often features a sort of reincarnation as a thematic throughline, plot point, or prominent piece of lore, even if said reincarnation is often more metaphorical or spiritual rather than literal. As such, Meng Po can be a demon of spiritual significance to the outcome as one who ensures that souls are ready to reincarnate, which itself has some interesting potential story-wise. There's not really much else to say beyond that she is a natural fit and that I'd like to see her, but I honestly think that the mythology by itself just makes the case for me in this case. Going back to the muses of Greco-Roman mythology, Calliope, the firstborn of the 9, is unique in what she could offer from a meta-narrative perspective, as the muse is sometimes associated with the most iconic of epics of the ancient world, the Odyssey, an avenue that opens up the possibility for demons from that tale to play a major role in the plot or at least a side quest. These include the once common Athena, to the Devil Children exclusive Poseidon and Siren, to the protagonist of his legendary work, Odysseus himself, who up until now has only been a persona in Persona 2. I love ninjas. Of all things I think of as Japanese or anime, ninjas are by far my favorite, and they have been ever since I saw them appear in media as a child, and especially so after growing up and resonating with the story of Naruto. As such, ninjas are one of those tropes that I always love to see included, and feel a bit disappointed aren't as prominent in SMT as they could be, given their prevalence and silent impact on Japanese history. Enter one such ninja, Chiyome, a kunoichi with ancestry tracing to the ancient Koga, who, after the death of her husband in battle, became the leader of an entire network by training over 200 orphans and abandoned children in a variety of skills that served them well in their roles as spies. A fantastic addition on premise alone to any future games, perhaps best suited as a giver of challenge quests to accomplish assassinations or help prevent an occupation of forces lawful or chaotic by supplying such aid like an information network working to undermine the foreign powers. And that's this week's video. Next week will be a more ambitious video that I've wanted to do for a while. So like, comment, and subscribe if you are interested. As well as the notifications bell. I don't understand why notifications are not automatic, but oh well. You can also let me know in the comments which Persona from Persona 5 to Phantom X, or some other mobile game that maybe I'm not aware of would be a great addition to any future games in the series beyond. Until next time, I am Bilal-kun. On screen right now are some video recommendations, and I will see you next week.